Does that make it live when it's red?
Yeah.
I thought green meant it was live.
Oh gosh, this has to stay in.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Yeah, it is a little bit of a
Green means go. Red
Well,
means stop.
yeah. So when it's
Does this
green,
mean stop
it's
talking?
when
Means
it's
you're getting recorded?
when it's green, you press it. It means to press it, and then it's red. So now
So
if
all
I
those
want to
little,
stop
I would
it,
say
I
like
hit.
pull my fingers or you did that, never showed up because it was green. I was trying to throw that in there.
You might be a math major, but
I
common
am.
sense maybe isn't your thing.
You put some numbers in front of
We
me.
are Josh and Mike with the Lucky
We're
13
just random. We're
podcast.
just random two guys. Gonna talk
We
about
had a little
anything.
bit of technical difficulty here a minute ago, but our buddy Chris Unger figured it out. So
Come on, get go. Come through with us.
yeah, I don't know why you're just putting it off there. Like you ought to put it right here in the middle.
It
so.
makes me feel like I'm burning calories to get it.
Okay.
What?
Unreal. You know what? What do we say? Oh, Final Four, or not Final Four, but
March
the
Madness.
March Madness starts. We're filming this on the 18th. March Madness really started last night, right? Playing game was
Yeah,
last night.
Texas hit a game winner, I think.
Then playing game tonight, and then the whole thing starts on
I
Thursday.
was really looking forward to March Madness this year because there's a lot of good teams, a lot of good players. I'm just going to call it what it is. I can't wait for game one of Purdue to watch Braden break the assist record.
Yeah.
Since he was a fourth grader, I said he's the best passer I've ever seen. And people are like, he's a fourth grader. I'm like, the things he sees and to watch him break that record. Plus, he's a dog. He's a grinder.
Yeah.
He's the kid. I can't wait to see it.
Do you think he'll wear number 41 for the rest of
Man,
for the
I
tournament?
tell you what, he had hit a shot. The Big Ten tournament, he was shooting bricks, and he went 5 for 5 or 6
Yeah,
for 6?
after he put on that
Yeah.
New Jersey.
Yeah, but
So that'd
look,
be awesome.
I don't think the jersey affects that kid.
Yeah, I imagine so.
I don't think.
But hey, superstition, you might as well grab a hold of it,
Yeah.
you know? So I wore the exact same thing to every IU football game because I had to.
Yeah.
So
I still wear the same jock strap when I play.
okay.
No,
The
Tell 'em- can we
issue
talk
with
about
you,
the game
Hauser,
on-
is you just take things a little too far
Well,
sometimes.
that's why you're in HR. You help me get out of it. That's why we do this in a closed room.
Yeah,
But think about this. You've talked about it. I got 1 year of eligibility.
You were talking about how you don't know what you should do with your life when
Yeah.
you're not in a session.
I
or
love my
leading
teams,
OS.
by the way, but I
And
need more. I'm just calling it what it is.
Unger, my recommendation was he's got 1 more year of eligibility. I mean, you go and you start getting in shape now. You get on a JUCO team or a D2 or D3. They might make a movie about it.
I think so. And what's the name of my shirt going to be? Help and switch.
Help and switch, and I got trail.
And trail. I'm trailing.
I'm trailing.
They're running the fast break. I'm trailing.
That's
But I
what's-
promise. If I'm in the gym, I'm open. I can still shoot it.
That's
I
what's-
don't think I can guard my shadow.
That's what's funny about watching the All-Star Weekend when they do that like celebrity game.
Yeah.
And notoriously, there's like some big fat rapper or something
Yeah.
that is like in the game.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get past like the
No.
free throw line on the other end.
No, he's
ever.
3-point line to 3-point line. Back and forth.
Yeah, it's funny stuff. All right, let's talk about I think again, we see these trends as we're out working with clients and all of that. I believe that sometimes middle management inside of organizations gets overlooked.
100%.
And I think the number one driver of success of an organization is mid-level management. Because and mid-level management can be various types of layers, right? It's
Correct.
It isn't like anybody with a title of management.
Yeah.
It could be managers, directors, coordinators, supervisors. But it basically is, the way I think about it is anybody that has a person that's reporting to them that isn't like at the VP C-suite level.
So
right?
I described it as anybody who has to move human energy.
Oh,
So
that's good.
what you're doing has to move human energy in a direction. That is what quote unquote middle management.
Yeah. And oftentimes people get into middle management because they were great at what they did.
The overpromote world.
So I was really great at customer success as a customer success agent. Oh, well, let's make them the manager of customer success. Giving them no input, no feedback, no development, no nothing. And the person has just moved their job there and they aren't succeeding as well. So, like, what are you seeing relative to middle level management where organizations are just getting this wrong?
So I'm going to quote, what I, where die, it's underneath here. It's as goes the leadership team, goes the organization. And I get that from an alignment and an obsessive clarity. But it's really as goes the leadership teams, I call it coach, mentor, develop, CMD. If you can coach, mentor, and develop that next line, if that makes sense to you, and I'm just going to use lines, I'm not a hierarchy guy, but that next line, that middle management, that's where as goes the leadership team. And it's really how much can I transfer and cascade that knowledge. We've seen go through sports, go through music, amazing athletes that the moment that they had to move human energy, it's a totally different game because they were self-driven. They just did it on their own. But to bring somebody else into the fold and drive them, it's I use Phil Jackson all the time, the greatest human energy mover in basketball outside of John Wooden that I can think of, that can take egos and attitudes and efforts and then create an environment where each person learns their own role, responsibilities, but all the human energy still go in the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where the missing component is that I'm going to talk about myself in EOS. I spend a lot of time with leadership teams. Coaching them on coaching the next level is I think the biggest opportunity. That coaching, mentor, and developing is that biggest opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. And I think it's one of the, there was a lot of data that came out in the Gallup poll recently last year that just showed turnovers at an all-time high in the mid-level manager role. And a lot of it is because they're the sandwich group, right? So they've got the frontline people on one side that they're having to communicate with, lead, get them to move energy,
correct,
all of these types of things. And then they've got the senior level on the other side that is driving things down, not being clear, not being specific about what the expectations are, and they're stuck in the middle. And then sometimes senior leadership teams don't like to listen to mid-level management.
Yeah. We talked about this, and I'm studying this a little bit right now. And so there's this weird dichotomy that's happening. We talk about you pay for wisdom. Your middle managers are paying for it a ton. Does that make sense? And most of the payment that they're making right now is through stumble, bumbles, and fumbles. They're making mistakes, trying to either please or follow a leadership team's directive, and then trying to translate that to somebody who doesn't feel like that affects them or is aligned with them, and they're trying to play both roles. That wisdom is going to pay off when they're 45 and 50 because they've been through it. I'm worried about the 25 to 35, which in the Gallup poll talked about the 35 and under transfer rate right now is ridiculous because they're looking at, I just fell again. I'm going to go someplace else and see if they'll pay for my wisdom without me having to fall. They'll encourage me. I'll put a shameless plug in for what you guys do is developing that skill set that is not being developed in the workplace because we have full-time jobs to do and we're not spending time actually developing the skill sets for that future self. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes total sense. And I mean, the Gallup data is very clear also. Like the whole Q12, there's 2 or 3 questions that deal with, am I getting clear feedback?
Yep.
Do I have meaningful work? Do I understand what's expected of me at work? And is somebody investing into me and helping me grow my skills and my abilities?
All 4 of those. If you just say those, can you say those 4 again? Because if I'm listening, if you just take time and answer those 4 questions,
and
look at each person in the organization.
Am I clear on what the expectations are in my role?
Yeah.
Okay. What are the 5 to 7 things that have to happen for you to say to me, "Hey, job well done"?
Yep.
Is my work meaningful? Like, am I getting up every day enjoying what I'm doing?
Some purpose.
Am I getting clear feedback from you on a consistent basis, not just once a year, but
at the annual?
Weekly? Are you giving me feedback on how I'm doing in my position? And then do I have opportunities for growth and development? Are you sending me to leadership classes? Are you giving me good books to read? Are you and I know there's people listening to this going, well, why aren't they seeking that stuff out? Well, yeah, they can, but it's also your role as a leader to develop the people that work for you and help them become the best version of themselves.
And I've dealt with the why aren't they seeking that out? Just we have to take a little look at our own self. How many things in our life haven't we gone sought out? Although it might be in the workplace we're doing it, but what about your health? What about your faith? What about your marriage? What about raising? Think about all the things that we could go out and seek too. So it's awful hard to put that lens on people. I have a company that I love. I'm going to use an example of a company that I think spends heavy time thinking about that middle management on the regular. Here's how they start their meetings when they have just either a one-on-one or just a small group. I call it a trio. What is the number one mistake you made last week, and what's the lesson you learned that we can learn? And what they've created is a vulnerability that it's not okay to muck up, but it's okay if you will fess up, if you will, and then talk about it and share it. Does that resonate?
Yeah.
That has created such people come in and be like, don't do that, or I did this last week and I'm not doing that, and then somebody will talk about 3 weeks later, I almost ran into the same problem you did. It's crazy how developing your middle management sometimes is just creating a vulnerability opportunity for them to be allowed to say, this is where I screwed up. Because if not, they hide it. And then when it does expose itself, it makes it worse. I think about in the 2nd grade when I got spanked by Mrs. Criswell, and I didn't tell my parents. Again, and I went for like 3 months and thought, this is amazing. They did not know that I got spanked. And then they found out, right? And life got a little bit more difficult afterwards.
Yeah.
And so, not that I'm knocking my parents not creating that opportunity
Yeah,
for
I
me.
get you.
Because I knew I was going to get spanked when I got home, too, for
Yeah.
it. I was like a professional at that.
Yeah.
Different time. I'll lay down on the couch and talk about that.
Yeah, and I remember one time, one of my partners here in the business, she took on some new responsibilities and that sort of thing back four and a half years ago. And I remember she came to me and she goes, this happened, and she was telling me something where she mucked up, right?
Yep.
And she fessed up and said, this happened. I go, oh, yeah, that happened to me too when I first started doing that.
You
And
know
she
how-
kind of looked at me and she's like, well,
what were you going to tell
like,
me?
which I get. There's this whole thing. We don't want to save all of it, but it cost her money. Like it
Yeah.
was a deal that she could have sold, and had I just coached her in the right way, she would have sold it. We would have benefited as a company, and she would have earned more commission, right? And so I'm like, and it wasn't in my own mind. It wasn't like, well, she just has to learn that on her own. It was like, I didn't take the time to teach it to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's on me.
Do we have a list? That's what I like about that company. They're writing down all the muck-ups as they happen. They're AI in them, if you will. And then they're essentially creating an FAQ. I would think like a RoboSource would be perfect for this. Take all the muck-ups. Hey, what happens if this happens? And it has, here's the 3 options that will come out of that. Just think about having that data. I always call it the thumb drive that we're placing out there, because that is an investment. That is hard work to help somebody else, learn that lesson without having to cost them money or possibly cost them a job.
Yeah. So let's think about it this way. Okay. Let's we understand that mid-level management is not given enough time, not given enough attention, not from a needy perspective, from a development perspective. So let's say that I come to you. I'm the CEO of a company, and I come to you, and you're the vice president of sales, and all the salespeople are reporting to you. So we have 15 of them, and they're all reporting to you. So VP of sales and 15. And I come to you and I say, Josh, we need to expand your abilities. I need more from you from a leadership perspective. So I need you to develop your next layer, okay? So that you cannot have to lead 15 people in sales.
We're going to tell you you're going to delegate and elevate more, but we're not telling you how you're going to get there.
So, and I'm giving you 24 months, 18 to 24 months to put this structure into place. Walk me through some of the first ways you would start to think about this, and that you would do.
So
you've got these 15 people. You got,
Well, obviously, first and foremost, always take a clarity break. Start, stops, do's, don'ts. What do I know? What do I need to know? What do I want to know? Second, start to research who can I get this wisdom from, or where do I get this wisdom from? I mean, this is the work we don't do because we stay in the day in, day out. And then third, I think it's a missing component. Are you meeting with the team and really getting clear on what they see? Are you getting their discoveries? I love if we could fix one thing in your sales life today, what would that be? Getting 15 inputs. You just got 15 touch points of conversations, because if it's happening in one, it's happening in 6 others. And so there's 3 clear, you got to spend time, not just sitting and thinking about it, but you got to get curious. You got to start to research, and then you have to be willing to be vulnerable and say, I don't know this answer. Where can I find it?
Yeah. And then I think once you do that, then I think you need to say, okay, I've got enough data inputs, or I've got not enough, but a lot of data inputs. Now I have to get really clear on, you do an accountability chart inside of your sales department. What do I really want it to look like? And what are all the roles that I need to fill? What are the roles I need to fill? What are the top 5 to 7 of each of those roles? And likely in this scenario, it's probably you need to find somebody that you're either going to hire from the outside or promote from the inside, who could then take on sales leadership and start leading these 15 people, possibly. Like you might find a whole nother structure, but then let's just assume that that's the direction, and you've identified these 5 to 7 things. What next?
Yeah. Well, what's the end in mind look like? I mean, let's just start there. If we're sitting here 18 months from now to answer the question of the leader who came to you, what does it look like? And then either work backwards or forwards,
right?
If that makes sense to you. I like to work backwards. So this would be happening, this would be happening, this would be happening. So that means this is my starting point. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Which is also going to help you create your cadence. It's going to create your curriculum. It's going to create your blind spots that are in there. And then you got to have pivots available throughout that. But I don't think we take that time to, 18 months from now, we're just going to meet every Monday and have class. That's usually how that is resolved. I see that in
Yeah.
every company. And I ask, what is this class doing today that 18 months from now, that class I can look back and say, I'm sure glad I had that class.
Yeah.
Can you answer that for an 18-month curriculum?
Yeah, I think it's discovering the 5 to 7.
Yeah.
And then saying, for someone to be great at that 5 to 7, what competencies do they need to have? What do they need to be able to do?
Yeah.
Right. And then starting to map learning opportunities. And learning opportunities isn't always just sitting in a class or having an executive coach or whatever. It could be having experiences.
Yeah.
Right. It could be, is the person I'm thinking or the couple people I'm thinking about for this role, have they ever really gone out and done a ride along with a sales rep from the leadership seat,
Yes.
not the sales rep seat?
Yeah.
What does that look like? Have they ever prepped for a ride along? Have they ever done an after action review of a ride along?
Oh my gosh.
Have they, like, all of these things? Those would be all things that might be competencies that they have to develop. Conversely, when you don't do that, what happens is I go, oh, I like you a lot. I think you could be good at management. You become a manager, and these are the 5 to 7 things I'm going to evaluate you on. Good luck.
Yeah. We don't put them through student teaching before we put them into teaching.
Yeah.
There is a student teaching component to become a teacher. There's a practicum that you go through. Then there's a student teaching component. Then there's a teaching component. In the first 3 years, you have a mentor and you're doing heavy evaluations
100%.
before you really. And we don't follow that model. Whether I don't want anybody to knock teachers. I love the work that they put in, but I know what they do to get to that
For
point
sure.
to raise our children. We're talking about raising adults at this point, and we're not putting in that same work.
Yeah. And whenever I want business leaders to see giving somebody leadership responsibilities is a massive task.
Oh.
And a massive it's not it's a massive task, but what I'm trying to say is it's a massive responsibility, because ultimately, use this scenario I've created. Here's these 15 people that this great VP of sales is leading. Now I'm trying to decide, who am I going to put into place to lead these people? And these people's whole lives are going to get shaped by this one person.
Yeah.
Like, their home life is going to start to get shaped, because if you're a total
15
asshole
people, 60
and
people.
I hate, like, I don't like reporting to you, I'm taking that home.
Correct.
That's going to impact my spouse, my kids, my home life, everything. It's going to impact my mental health.
Do you know your
my
ripples?
physical health. Right. I use too many words, and then you say, do you know your ripple? But leaders have to go, I've got to make the right selection, because this is a massive responsibility.
And in all fairness, and I'm going to take us off, I was thinking about ruffles, and they have ridges, but I love the ripples. Here's we've talked about this before, but this is where I really I just went through a class with Beth Fay. I think she's amazing, and she reminded me of this, and I haven't used this in a long time, and I'm probably going to use it today. Unconsciously incompetent.
Yeah.
We have to address that, and that doesn't look. That's ignorance, and that you don't know that you don't know. So let's go into that. Let's go have the discovery. Yeah. What's going to happen is then you're going to become consciously incompetent.
Yeah.
You're going to be aware of what you don't know. Okay,
Yeah.
Those are two great steps. The next step, and this is where I think people get it backwards, the next step is actually consciously competent.
Yeah.
That I'm now aware and I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Because what we want to get you to is unconsciously competent, where it's now just part of your DNA.
Bingo.
And so as I were to lay out that plan, if I just put that platform down and answer each questions as they come up, and then what actions do I need to do what can I do from unconsciously incompetent just to get them to consciously incompetent? What do I have to do to get that aware?
Yeah.
And then how do I get them to, now they have to think about, I just use tying your shoes. I don't know how to tie my shoes. No idea how to do it. Okay, now I'm aware that if I don't know how to tie my shoes, I can't wear tie shoes to school. I got an 8-year-old going through this right now. Now I know how to tie my shoes, but I got to think about it.
Yeah.
But I'm good enough to get it done. And if they come undone, I don't need the teacher to come do it. I can do it again, to the point where you're an adult. When's the last time you thought about how you tie your shoes?
Well, I usually wear slip-ons, but
That does
okay.
not surprise me. That's because you can't.
No,
bend
but
over.
no, you're exactly right, because that's I love that framework. It's not the first time I've heard that, but I haven't heard it in a while, and so I'm glad you brought that back up, because and as we're going through AI, for example,
Correct.
right? I'd say the majority of the world right now is truly unconsciously incompetent about AI. Even if you're just out there using ChatGPT, that doesn't mean that you're consciously competent.
No.
At all. You're unconsciously incompetent. You don't know what you don't know. That's why I love hanging around people like RoboSource and others, because they know it. They know it. But they would even admit that they're unconsciously incompetent about things because it's moving so fast.
Yeah.
So
And at most they might be consciously competent, but they're not to the point where it's just because it is moving so fast.
Yeah. I think that's so important. And so I would just recommend as we wrap up here a bit, I think I want leaders to take this as an awesome responsibility with their mid-level management. So goes the mid-level management, so goes your organization.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We talked about, I think 2 episodes ago, culture is strategy eats culture for breakfast.
Yeah.
The culture eats strategy for breakfast. Culture is a strategy.
Yeah.
This is a strategy.
Yeah.
You got to have a mid-level management strategy.
Yeah.
And so keep going on that.
Yeah. And a manager is usually going to show, if they're not given something else to be to understand how it works, they're going to show up like whoever their manager was.
Correct.
Right?
They mirror.
And so if they are being led by a poor manager and that's not the leadership expectations of the organization, they're just going to show up and say, well, this is the way I've always been led. So, I'm going to lead in that particular way.
Yeah, this is how Mike does it, so that's what Chris gets.
100%. And so I think it's just so important to take this seriously and understand that if you don't take care of this well, your mid-level management's going to leave. And when you have too much turnover in mid-level management, you're going to have turnover at the front lines as well, because they're like, I can't go through twice a year having a new leader.
Yeah, the ripple again is affected, and then I love that you tied it to how many other family lives. Spend your time. I know there will be a profit outcome. There will be benefits to the company for this.
Yeah,
there'll be benefits to society if you do this as well.
I was as we wrap up here. Lindsay Picardo spoke at an event that we had for True a couple years ago.
That's a fun name to say, Lindsay
yeah,
Picardo.
She's a fantastic speaker, and she teaches on generations, various generations. She had a lot of different topics, but one of the things she brought up, and this was not her data and her research, but I can't remember where it came from. She said that your manager at work has a bigger impact on your mental health and well-being than your own spouse.
Boom. And you spend more time with them than you do your spouse.
Yeah. And that, when I heard that, I was just blown away, And
please say that again, because we need to have
your mental health and your well-being is more impacted by your direct manager than your own spouse.
Boom schnickels.
Yeah, it's incredible. And so
and then take that to the kids.
Yeah, and then right. And we've all, hey, I'm not perfect. Like, there are times I can remember days where I took the office home and I was not a great parent or I was not a great husband.
Yeah, I read the reports on that.
Yeah.
Awkward. No, that's all fake.
Yeah,
that's not true.
That's all funny.
That's not true.
And so we just have to keep that in mind, that it's an awesome responsibility.
It is.
So good combo.
Stuff.